try and find out where I was in the world sort of thing. But then I had all this issues of like, well, you're not really good enough to do this. You're not really good enough to do that. Don't even bother trying to do this. That's, whether it's a dream or not. I wish now I could go back and talk to my former self and just say...
What would you say?
I would say the dreams are what you make it. And if you're willing to put in the hard work, you will receive your dreams. And I remember getting called in and sitting down, and we walked in and there was like 6 other people in that room. It was like having our own entourage type thing, and we were like, this can't be good. What does stage 4 mean? Because we hadn't done that much research, and I had done a little bit, and I said, unfortunately there isn't a stage 5. And I can just remember thinking, my little boy was 4 at the time, that I'm not going to make it to his 5th birthday. We were given a card by Macmillan with a phone number on, and we just left the hospital with no focus, no goal, no direction, no idea of what to do next. I believe that I took responsibility for putting myself in that stage 4 advanced incurable cancer category. That was me who got myself there. So I take full responsibility for my own cancer.
Can you almost still pinpoint, I guess, that a point where you was like, that has got to be another answer? Or what was your next steps, I guess, after that initial phase?
It was the one turning point was when we went to pick our little boy up from school. And, me and my wife just stood there and looked at our little boy and went, we are going to fight this to the death.
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. Through sharing the stories of our guests, I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey. Okay, I'm just going to say something about one of our sponsors, Riverval. The world of cars, vans and minibuses is often a pain point for many of us. The hassle of finding the right vehicle, let alone looking after it, are all more things to add to our lists as busy people. Riverval's mission is to make motoring manageable, and that's why they provide leasing, purchasing, servicing and vehicle management. So whether you have one family car or a fleet of vans for your business, Riverval are your trusted vehicle supplier. Visit www.riverval.co.uk. Okay, let's jump back to the podcast. Okay, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Statistics state that 1 in 2 people will get diagnosed with cancer in the UK. In 2019, nearly 400,000 people were diagnosed with cancer. One of those people was my guest today. He's a dad, husband, storyteller, bespoke builder, ultra athlete, runner, and a cancer survivor. This is a story of resilience, self-belief, and never giving up. I'm delighted to welcome the very inspirational Marcos Jarvis to the podcast. Mate, how you doing?
Thanks, Sam. I'm delighted to be here and be invited to actually come and talk on this podcast, and really appreciate it. And I followed a lot of stuff that you've done and love all your work. Cheers, buddy.
Mate, it's very kind. Look, we've got to know each other a little bit over the last couple of years through Justin and stuff, and I've been at different events, and I've heard you speak, and every time I just come away just in awe of you and your mindset and how you are as an individual and lust for life. And I'm so grateful for you coming on today and just being able to share that story with us, I think. And I'm 100% confident that it's going to inspire so many people. So look, we're going to jump straight in. We start with our life in 60 seconds because I want to give people a little bit of a picture really of you prior to getting diagnosed with cancer, and as always we start, so our life in 60 seconds, this first one, I just want you to, just as a snapshot, just tell me something about your childhood and growing up and how that shaped you, I guess, who you are today.
Okay. I was just an average child when I was younger. I always hid in the background, didn't want to bring too much attention to myself. I was quite shy, had difficulty learning and reading and writing and sort of stuff like that. So when you got called up in class to actually read out a paragraph, I used to just run out of the classroom sort of thing. And it was really difficult for me when I came through school. But I was pretty good at like the carpentry side and the DIY, sort of like the home ec sort of side of things, practical side of things. So I always shied away from the academic side and tried to do all the physical sides of things. So.
Okay. Well, that actually, again, that leads us on nice. I mean, and I want to delve a little bit more into, I guess, your upbringing and family life and stuff like that. And like I say, just to give people an idea and paint that picture of just who you were as an individual growing up and what your aspirations were and what you wanted to do when you grew up, and because you was a builder, obviously, as a trade and stuff. So yeah, just to take us a little bit on that journey and tell us a little bit more about.
Yeah, I had a really, really nice child upbringing. I've got a younger brother, 2 years younger than me, loving parents. We were always playing football or in the garden. And my dad was a pattern engineer, carpenter, so I learned quite a bit from him on the tools and the chisels, even when I was really young. There's a nice picture of me knocking down our garden wall with a hammer and bolster, which my parents were not grateful for. And my mum, she used she was really good. She was really practical and everything else. So, like cleaning the house, and she even hung the wallpaper, and so that's where I learned the wallpaper inside of things from, and sort of stuff like that. So, but yeah, we had a really loving family upbringing, sort of thing. So.
And that's and just touching, I guess, on the education side of it, and people who come on often get on, not me high horse, but I talk about the education system a lot because, like you said, you've built a career of being a builder and that practical side of stuff, and academically maybe didn't engage that well with school because school's not designed for, if we're not academic, then it's not
You're
designed
pushed
for
to one side. Yeah, that is the biggest problem. I was always pushed into the dunce corner, and sort of like I had to find my own way through the school, and I did rebel quite a bit. I never really in trouble that much, but I was always in detention, which I never turned up to because I'd just leave school, sort of thing. And
Because it's just fascinating because I can't tell you how many people I've had on and I speak to them about their takeaway from school, and actually I just didn't engage in it, and yet no matter what, we still have got this archaic system that is not being looked at, and actually we can't, that person's not engaging in that way, so we're just going to keep doing the same thing. And like you said, you as and I'd be interested to know what impact I guess that had on you in your adult life of going, because like you just alluded to, seen as a dunce or whatever, and you're labelled almost as a failure. Your first taste of the world is actually you're not really good at what we're asking you to do, so you're in that camp and you're seen as a failure. I mean, does that, from a mindset point of view, as you go into adulthood, did that affect you in any way, or what was your thoughts?
I felt very vulnerable and very unconfident with a lot of different things, so I just chose to sort of try and find out where I was in the world, sort of thing. But then I had all this issues of like, well, you're not really good enough to do this, you're not really good enough to do that, don't even bother trying to do this. That's, whether it's a dream or not. I wish now I could go back and talk to my former self and just say,
what would you say?
I would say the dreams are what you make it, and if you're willing to put in the hard work, you will receive your dreams. And that's what I would actually say to myself, and slap myself in the face as well.
Wow. I love that. And I'm wondering, I'm assuming, obviously with kids as well, like, is that the message I guess you give to them?
Yeah. I've got my little boy's now 8 years old, and I'm always with him, and like he wants a Lamborghini. He wants a green Lamborghini, specific to which one he wants. And I was like, right, we will put in motion goals to be able to get that car that you want, sort of thing. And it's a fact of, don't ever, if you never get the car, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you tried to get to where you are to be able to afford that car. And I just installed it into him as much as I can, that consistency. It's not going to come easy. You have to work day in and day out and work smart and work out how you're going to get that money. So
that's really, I'm the same with mine. I'm always talking to them about just trying to give them that self-belief that you can achieve anything if you really put your mind to it. Like, you can achieve anything and go out there and do that. And whether it be like, I'm sure as he gets older, maybe that as a material thing that will go, or it might not, and he might still get it. He may well get it, but actually, like you said, whatever that is, whatever that goal, I guess the key, and one thing I've learned from this podcast the most, is that it's so important in business, in life. We've got to set ourselves goals, of course we do, but it's actually recognising that that goal or that achievement isn't necessarily the euphoria moment that we promise ourselves, but as long as you're on that process, consistency, as you alluded to already, as long as on that process you're enjoying all that on the way to getting to wherever that, because as soon as you get there, you get a green Lamborghini,
he wants another
a purple one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
right.
we're always moving things, but like I get the context of it, trying to go, actually, it's something I'm striving for, believing I can get it, and then working backwards, like you say, going, right, how do I get there? Step by step, and taking those. So I guess that's the same with anything in life, isn't it? It's small steps.
Exactly, small steps. And I wish I'd have known that before I got cancer, because that would have made my life probably a lot different to what it is now. Sort of thing. So I'd have made different choices and made better health decisions and everything else. Sort of thing. So,
okay. Well, look, we mentioned that, and let's, if we can, mate, let's delve into that a little bit. If we could take me back, obviously, to 2019. You obviously go and see the doctor, and you get that news that none of us ever want to hear. But can you just share that sort of experience with us and what that was like at that time?
I remember going for tests, and then I went to the doctors for a CT, well, it's hospital for the CT scan. And I remember it was yesterday, 4 years ago, was the anniversary that we got called into the hospital, and it's actually our wedding anniversary today. So you can imagine 4 years ago, our wedding anniversary after getting that news was just mind-blowing. But I remember me and my wife walking in and sitting in the waiting room for that oncology office, and I remember getting called in and sitting down, and we walked in, and there was like 6 other people in that room. It was like having our own entourage type thing, and we were like, this can't be good, not if there's this many people in one room just to talk to 2 people. And I remember the oncologist saying, look, we've done the biopsy, we've done the scan, and we have found pancreatic stem cells within the tumour that we've done the biopsy on. And they said, we suspect it's pancreatic cancer was secondary on liver. And he said, unfortunately, it's stage 4 advanced incurable. And all we can do is put you on palliative chemo and assign you to a hospice. And I remember my wife saying that, holding my hand, and just like, we just broke down. And I remember my wife saying to me, saying to the doctor, well, what does stage 4 mean? Because we hadn't done that much research. And I had done a little bit, and I said, unfortunately, there isn't a stage 5. And I can just remember thinking, my little boy was 4 at the time, that I'm not going to make it to his 5th birthday. and that was a pretty powerful day when we came out of there. And we just walked up the corridor of the hospital going, what do we do? What do we do? We were given a card by Macmillan with a phone number on, and we just left the hospital with no focus, no goal, no direction, no idea of what to do next, sort of thing. So that was that day.
That was 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah. And I'd done well not to cry there. Too mate. Bad. I choked a little bit.
Mate. Because it's hard, like to even, I guess for so many people, hard to even comprehend those words. Someone sitting in front of you, and like you say, with your partner there, and obviously having a young child as well, and just go, I'm just keen to, like you said, as you come away from that, when you both go home, sit down, and have to try and process that, I guess, in your head. What sort of things were you able to process, and where can you almost still pinpoint, I guess, that a point where you was like, that has got to be another answer, or what was your next steps, I guess, after that initial phase?
It was the one turning point was when we went to pick our little boy up from school, and me and my wife just stood there and looked at our little boy and went, we are going to fight this to the death, and we're going to put every single ounce of energy into finding out what annoys cancer, and we are going to do it no matter what it is. And then we took our little boy home, and we explained to him that, I'd been to hospital and I was going to have medicine and everything else to sort of help, that I was going to become very sick. I'd possibly spend a lot of time in bed, possibly lose my hair, and then we said to her and said, look, we're going to still do everything we can. I mean, a 4-year-old little boy sort of doesn't really understand that much, but I always remember him saying that to mommy, saying, Daddy's just got a bad plant growing in his tummy that we need to sort out. So that was just so cute. And it was a case of, it was that when me and my wife just stood hand in hand looking at this poor innocent little boy, and we were like, there's got to be hope, there's got to be a chance, there's no way that little boy can be left without someone to look after him for both of us, sort of thing. So, and that was our turning point, and that was when we decided that there wasn't anything in this world that we were not willing to try. And we went home, we studied cancer so much, it's unreal. And the funny story about being dyslexic, the first book I ever ordered was a book called The Truth About Cancer. And when it came through on Amazon, it was like this thick. It's like 2 inches thick. And I always remember saying to my wife, because I'm so slow at reading, I'm going to be dead before I finish this book. So I was like, right, what can we do? So we went Audible. And I got it on Audible, and someone read it to me within 10 hours. And the takeaways from that book I got, and then I started reading other books like Chris Beats Cancer and Jane, How to Starve Cancer. Then I met some fantastic people like James Boardman, his The State of Mind book, Wim Hoff. I read his book about cold exposure, and it just set everything up. And I read a cookbook called How Not to Die. So it was a case of, right, okay, mindset's there. We've got all the cold therapy there. We've got the Ross Edgley. I read his book about like physical exercise and everything else. And obviously diet. So we just started putting everything into place. And then we found out about Tai Chi, meditation, yoga, acupuncture, homeopath, and you name it, SEXT, coffee enemas, everything. We were like, right, we're going to throw everything at that, as well as chemotherapy as well. So yeah, that was our turning point.
Wow. Mate, just take... I'm really interested to see, because listening to you talk like that, and just grabbing life and going, we're not going to let this beat us, and you're going to research it. I'd just talk to me just prior to previous that, your life prior to that, mindset wise, diet, those type of things.
Yeah.
What was that ever? Where was you on that beforehand?
I was I shouldn't put builders in the category, but I was a typical builder down the calf, and bacon sandwiches and bad diet, too much stress of trying to get jobs done, and trying to juggle so many different things and being under a lot of pressure and down the bakers, too much sugar and not enough sleep, too many quotes to write and everything else. And that was when I believed that, like, I took responsibility for putting myself in that stage 4 advanced incurable cancer category. That was me who got myself there. So I take full responsibility for my own cancer.
Do you realise that's really interesting, because obviously we can all, we all read stuff and we all go, it's not going to happen to us, or eat certain things, or I watch a little bit, or I don't exercise enough, and all them things, everything. But it's really interesting that because cancer just doesn't, it picks anyone, right? But you're saying that you've taken responsibility for that. You're saying that it was like almost your fault that you got.
Yeah.
Okay, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that's what I'm basically trying. A lot of people say otherwise, but the situation, I had to stress myself out enough to eat the wrong diet, to be in the wrong mindset. Something had to break. Something had to give me a sign of to say, look, you're going down the processed food diet too much. You're having too many McDonald's, I shouldn't say, but I shouldn't be eating that type of food. And because I wasn't listening to my body was like, right, I'm going to show you a sign, and I'm going to show you a sign properly, smack you in the face with a steam train, because you're not listening, you're not doing enough exercise, you're not looking after yourself, you're not eating the right foods and everything else. Some people get away with it. But unfortunately, I was the one that my cancer cells went, whoa, I can't deal with this anymore. You're putting the wrong stuff in, so I'm going to give you the wrong stuff out. And that's basically what it is. It's the same as putting diesel in a petrol car. You're not going to get the right result, sort of thing. And that's basically what happened to me. So I looked at it as, I shouldn't, possibly people say I shouldn't take responsibility for it, but that gave me the turning point. It was like, right, if I got myself into this position, how do I get myself out of it? It's the same as if you get myself into debt, how am I going to get out of it? £5 at a time, £1 at a time. And it's a step-by-step process. And that's the idea I took with my cancer journey. So if I was going to do a 100k race, I'd never look at it as a 100k race. I'd only ever look at it as 1k race 100 times. So all I've got to do is get to that 1k. And that was one of the things that James Boardman had in his book, was the 1% rule. Tomorrow I'm going to be 1% better, and each day progress to that case and then in a year you're 365% better than what you were when you started. So
it's such a brilliant, like I say, for me, just listening, and I suppose a lot of our listeners as well, listening in, looking and going, how much you can relate that to anything in your life, that whatever it is that you want to try and achieve, or what you want to try and get out of, or in a position how we can change our lives. That actually, it's not sometimes going, I want to get there. It's how do I get, like you mentioned right in the first bit with your son and the Lamborghini. Okay, it's great that you want to get that. How are we going to get there? What's them steps and stages, and looking at each, just those small little steps every single day. And the consistency, and that's how we develop and
I think with cancer as well, because it's such a scary word, that if you actually look at your cancer journey and how far it took me 2 years to beat my cancer, and it, like that focus of like those if I looked at 2 years time and oh my God, that's so far away, but I looked at it, right, what can I do today? Okay, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a cold shower. I'm going to go for a run. And I ended up, I remember walking, and I had 35 rounds of chemo, bearing in mind. I started to walk, and then I read about exercise and how it moves the chemotherapy around your body, helps flow for your blood and everything else, same as Tai Chi. And so I started walking. I remember one day thinking, I wonder if I can run. So I probably ran 200 metres, and I had to go home and literally sit down and have a cup of tea. And then, but the next day I went, you're going to put your trainers back on and you're going to go out and do 250 metres. And I did. And then the next day it was 300 metres, 500 metres. And I was like, right, okay, I'm at the stage now, I need a goal. So I booked myself a 5K race. And I was like, right, I'm going to go and do that 5K race. Whether I'm still on chemo, I'm going to go and do it. So I did. I turned up and I'd done the 5K race. And I was like, right, next day, 10K race. I booked myself a 10K race and then a half marathon. And I remember getting to the stage where I completed the half marathon and I broke down in tears on this finish line. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what I achieved. And I was like, right, okay, that's that goal done. Let's set another goal. So I booked myself a marathon. And I actually turned up on the day of the marathon. I had chemotherapy on a Friday, and my chemotherapy consisted of 6 hours infusion through a PICC line in the hospital. Then they used to give me a 48-hour slow infusion pump with chemotherapy on my belt. And I turned up on the race line Saturday morning, still with the chemotherapy pump on, and I ran that marathon that day. And I turned and I done duathlons whilst having chemotherapy, and my furthest run ever on chemotherapy was 55k across the South Downs. Right. So it's just a case of I started off at 200 metres and I ended up running 55k. Right, and that was the case. But I ran 2,500 miles within that time of having chemotherapy.
What was the time scale between the 250 metres and the 55k? How long roughly was that?
It was, I was diagnosed 2019, November, October, yesterday. And I started obviously walking straight away, but I didn't start running until December. And I ran that marathon, the first marathon in March of 2020, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
like 3-4 months.
4 months. Yeah. No, it was 21. So it had been a year and a half, but I'd already run a couple of, because we went through lockdown and everything else.
Cool,
So I had actually gone out and run unofficial marathons on my own, because obviously we weren't allowed to talk to anyone. But it was 21 when I went and done that marathon. So yeah, a year and just over a year that I went and done it on chemotherapy as well. So I used to run to hospital and have chemotherapy and then run home. The nurses thought I was insane.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what the medical staff and stuff. What was their take on your attitude and what you was doing and how you was doing? Was they encouraging that, or going like, actually, you shouldn't really be doing that? Or
I shouldn't really be doing it. I should be resting, and because obviously the chemicals that they're putting in my system and my body, I should be resting. But the thing was, because I was doing I don't know if you ever heard of the Wim Hoff breath work, which helps boost blood cells and everything else, and obviously chemotherapy destroys blood cells, so I had more energy because of that. I was having cold showers every single day, and I kept all my hair through chemo as well. I think the chemo I was on, you don't lose as much hair, but my hair, never had any trouble with it whatsoever. So I'd done cold therapy, cold baths, ice baths as well. And I was told by my oncologist not to touch anything cold, even to get plastic knives and forks, because metal knives and forks would have been too cold for my fingers, sort of thing. And there's my wife. I remember a story. It was in February. It was -2, and my wife couldn't find me in the house, and she poked her head out the door and went, "No, it won't be out here." And there I was sitting in the deck chair outside with my hands and feet in buckets of ice water, and she just shook her head and went, "What am I going to do with him?" sort of thing. And that was the other thing with having support around me like that was incredible, because my wife could have phoned the doctors and said, "Look, this guy's chemically insane. I need to do something about him because he's doing all this crazy stuff," sort of thing. But she didn't. She supported me every single step of the way, and she was like, "I can see the results." you're getting fitter and healthier, and obviously the diet as well. I was eating very, very clean food, no processed foods, no sugars, no dairy products, no meats, no nothing. I went total plant-based sort of thing, but that seemed to give me the energy to be able to do the things I did. I still felt sick. I was
going to say, because I mean, look, my understanding of chemo and speaking to people that have done it and seeing people that have been through it, and you zapped of energy, feeling sick and etc. But so you still felt like that, but you then still push through and what?
Yeah, I had to. Some mornings I'd get up and I'd sit on the side of the bed and I'd be putting my trainers on, and I'd feel sick, nauseous, banging headache, no energy whatsoever. Couldn't even reach down, because every time I reached down to put my shoes on, my head would like bang, 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 because I was leaning forward. And I was like, there's other people out there worse off than you, mate. So just shut up, get your trainers on and get out the door. If you're too tired when you come back, you can go for a sleep because you've earned your sleep. But right now, you haven't earned it, so you don't deserve it. So get your ass out there. And my wife was always like, if you spoke to your friends the same way as you speak to yourself, you would not have no friends. I mean, I was pretty harsh with myself.
But is that... it's just interesting to, I guess, tap into that, again, that mindset side of things. Just a couple of things I want to touch on. One, I guess that constant message in your head, because you had a why, right?
Yeah.
Like everything we need in life, we talk about, whether it's your business, home life, whatever it is. What's your why? What's your purpose? And as you kindly shared that moment that you stood in front of your son and you go, that's my why.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting words, but I'm assuming, listening to that story and how you've shared it, my assumption would be that anytime you felt low or you felt down, the why would kick in.
Yeah. My wife will be there in my vision. My son will be there in my vision. My family will be there in my vision. And every single step I was doing this for myself to be the fittest person I could for them. So I was quite selfish in the fact of, I need to do this, go for a run, have the food and everything else. So I was almost like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be here. So I'm not going to be the fittest person for the rest of my family. But they were fully supportive with that, which was, having that support around you was just incredible, because so many people will go, oh, you sure you should be doing this, and I've read stats on this, that and everything else, but the only problem is they are stats at the end of the day, and stats can be proven wrong. And I think that was one of my goals, to go against everything that everyone was saying around me and just pushing to see what I was capable of. Like David Goggins, literally just going, right, okay, you may think your day is bad, wait until you've pushed yourself and then see how you feel, type thing. And that was that type of, I don't care what you're going through right now. The only question you need to ask yourself is, can you take one more step? And the answer is always yes. Just that one more step, because you just don't know what's round the corner, And fortunately for me, each time I went back for the scans, I remember my first 3-month scan, one of my tumours was 10 centimetres across on my liver. And the scans showed that it had already reduced to 7.5 centimetres within 3 months. And I was like, right, we're going in the right direction. And that just gave me that extra boost. And I remember someone saying to me, goes, well, what would you have done if the results weren't good? And I said, I would have gone home and tried harder, because obviously I'm missing something. And it was that, I think that attitude that I had was, okay, 1% James Boardman type thing. You've got to find that 1% within that day just to push yourself out a little bit more.
I love that. And there's so many things to take away from how you're describing, how you're talking about stuff, especially like people, like I said, a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, business owners, and within that space. But even like one thing I really resonate with there is that you go, and how many entrepreneurs and business owners have got to be like this, and some of the most successful are like this, is because you go, as you've just said, that actually stats, or this is what everyone else is doing, this is what's going on, this is what's people being successful in. But I'm going to do something completely opposite. I'm going to look at that and I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to, and that's how I'm going to beat it. Not going to follow the herd, but I'm going to go against that. But you relate that to a business thing. That's where, you know, your Mark Zuckerbergs and your Elon Musks and people like that, because they will go, actually everyone's going left, so I'm going to go right, and I'm going to take a different path. And that's what I find listening to you talk and how you're talking about it and describing it. That's what I find fascinating.
But the thing is people are too quick to jump on, oh, why would you want to do that? That's already failed in this situation. That's already failed. Yeah, but it might not fail in my situation. That's why I'm going to go and do it. But too many people will listen to other people and not, like I said, you know, your goal, your dream is your dream. The only way you're going to get to that dream is if you make it yourself. That's it. You know, you can have all the people told me to sit down, you know, people told me to stop doing what I was doing, but I didn't listen because I had the support round me, luckily, that said, no, we'll give it a go. Go see the homeopath, you know.
What then did the doctors, it must have been, because they're telling you not to do that potentially, and then you're going and doing it. So when you do go back and actually they look at the results, what was their take on it?
Their take was I responded far beyond their expectation on chemotherapy, and that was their take on it. So they didn't take anything into consideration that I ran 2,500 miles or anything like that. So, but the latest oncologist I had, she was pretty good, because she was like, okay, tumours are shrunk, I've spoke to Guildford and they can now do an operation. So I actually had surgery July 21, and they took the last 6 tumours out of me, and when they tested them, those 6 were dead completely. Tumours were just that had no live cancer cells in, but there was just one that had cancer cells in, and they tested it and said, unfortunately, there's still cancer there, and we're going to have to do another 6 rounds of chemo and then go back in for surgery. And I always remember talking to my oncologist and said, is there any possible way I could get rid of that last tumour so I don't have to have surgery? She was like, no, I reckon you're going to have surgery. I'd done the 6 rounds of chemo and I carried on running, and over that period carried on ice baths, cold exposure, homeopath, you name it, I chucked at it. And when I went back for my final scan before before they decided about surgery, she said, pleased to say it's gone. She said, you are cancer free, that thing. And that was 2 years ago.
Like we talk about achieving goals, euphoria moments, and again, I often speak on here that, you know, sometimes there's not always that euphoria moment when you get there. From a business point of view, I guess relating it to this though in a completely different aspect. What was that moment like, the day that you, because that's got to be...
I always had, I said to my wife that I've got a vision of my oncologist sitting the other side of the desk, and they'll turn around and say, Mr. Jarvis, I am pleased to say you are cancer free. And I never left that visualization. I always kept that with me. So, and every step I took, I said it was another cancer cell dead. Every piece of broccoli I ate straight out of the fridge, there's another cancer cell dead. So every single thing had a process to beating cancer. Every time I went to chemotherapy, that was another load of cancer cells dead. But I also done a lot alongside the chemo, like fasting, which is supposed to help boost the potency of the chemotherapy. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor,
sure.
But there's.
I've heard that. I've watched a couple of things. What's his name? Chris Hemsworth. He done something called Limitless.
That's it.
Really interesting series. But he does extremes. He did a cold water swimming. And he does. He does fasting and stuff like that. And they talk about the science behind it and how fasting can regenerate those cells and etc.
So now I'm cancer free, but I'm also in prevention mode. So I am still doing everything that I used to do whilst I was going through chemo and cancer and everything else. I still run every single day. Or do some kind of exercise. And like I say, I've got a 55 miler coming up across the South Downs, as you do. That was actually, I brought that for myself for my birthday, because my birthday's in December. So a little present to myself.
What is your present? I'm going to run 55 miles.
And that was it. And I'm going to raise some money for Wolo, which is a fantastic charity that helped me all the way through
talk to, because obviously you're doing some work with Wolo at the moment as well, aren't you? I know that's how we met through Justin and the
business
foundation.
Network and.
Tell me a little bit about the foundation, I guess.
My pleasure. Wolo is a cancer charity local to East Sussex. They help families all over Sussex going through a cancer journey, whether it's the child that's going through cancer or the adults that are going through cancer. They support with loads of different things, like if you need a cleaner for your health, they'll organise and pay for a cleaner for your house. If you need a plumber to change your shower, they'll organise that. If you need a lift to somewhere for an operation, they'll organise that. If you need a respite, they work with a lot of local companies which have cabins and things like that, and little chalets and stuff like that you can go stay in, so you're going to get a little respite away from everything. And therapy and food. We've got a WhatsApp chat, which is like a food channel where we discuss different health meals and sort of stuff like that. We run a wellness course, which is all to do with breath work, cold exposure, yoga, and just looking after yourself. So, because you're going through a really, really rubbish time with a diagnosis, with chemotherapy, with hair loss, with this and everything else, that you need someone in your corner to just say, right, okay, we can do this and this sort of thing. So
I guess surrounding yourself with a community of people that, like you say, can relate and can resonate with where you're going through. Because someone, I guess, that hasn't been through cancer, it's more difficult for them to resonate with it. Of course it is. They don't know physically what you're going through, mentally and emotionally and all of those things, but of course they can be supportive to a degree. But actually, I guess as an individual, to be able to share those stories with people that are going through the same must be a huge thing. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what Justin and Fleur are doing.
Absolutely amazing. So
incredible people.
Justin's just ran 100 miles in Africa with a load of other people, trekking and walking out there to raise money for Wolo, which obviously helps different families. We just had an event called Wolo Fest, so we get a load of musicians and different bouncy castles games and everything else. We invite all the families there, so everyone there is affected by cancer. You're not the odd one out type thing, and that's really nice community to just have an evening around the fire, have music playing by a band and sort of stuff like that. So yeah.
Because I guess that's the thing. Some of the statistics when I shared in that introduction, I think one thing that really blew me away was when we was at the foundation ball, and I think Fleur was at the front, and she said, "Stand up if if you've had cancer." Then it was stand up if you knew someone that had cancer, someone that passed away from cancer, and literally by the end, everyone in the room was standing up, and you're just that's how impactful it is. So everyone, whoever you are, someone has been affected or knows someone that's been affected by cancer in some way. So it's such a, and I guess with that in mind, the majority then of where all of our listeners will be listening and think. So it's, I guess from just in life in general, what would you say to people, whether you've been diagnosed with cancer or just in a bit of a dark space? What, from a mindset point of view, what would you say to people from that, advice wise, that you could give them?
There's always someone out there to hold your hand. There's always someone that you can turn to, and it's asking for help, which we're, as a society, we're told, like growing up, buck up your ideas and stiff upper lip type thing. Whereas I think nowadays the society is getting a little bit more engaged with each other to help more, and I think everyone needs to jump on that bandwagon of like coming together, giving everyone a hug and sort of just saying, I'm here. Not everything's going to be all right because it might not be all right. It's a fact of being there for someone can make so much difference. Just having that friend, that voice, that, I quite often say to people, my email's there, if you want to rant, just send me a rant, I'll get back to you and stuff like that. It's just having that voice to listen to, that hope. And that is all it is. If you can hold on to that little bit of hope, just to say that, I'm gonna give this a go. And that's the thing, it's giving it a go. It might not work, but it's giving it a go. And that's all I thought. I thought to myself, I'm going to try to be the fittest, healthiest person for what I've got left from my little boy, and for my wife to stand there and be proud of all of us as a family. And that was what drove me on to get fitter and fitter and fitter. And like I say, I used to run to hospital and get chemo and then run home. So
I'd be really keen. Was there ever, because we all have good days, bad days, and I'm sure, and stuff like that, but did you ever allow your mind to go to that place that I can't do this anymore? Was there them days where you had I can't do this anymore? Or did you just not allow yourself to go to that point?
The thoughts did come in. Obviously, I used to wake up in cold sweats thinking I was in a coffin and things like that, and just like, well, right, it's only a dream. It's only your mind playing tricks on you just because you've been told this information. It's not actually what it could be. You can change that. And that was the thought every time it came in of, I've been assigned to a hospice, and I've only got a few weeks to live and things like this. I was like, right, okay, if I've only got a few weeks to live, I'm going to make the most of it, of what I've got. But if I can prolong that to a few weeks, to a few months, to a few years, that was almost like a challenge for me to just, right, okay, you told me this, I'm going to do that. So I will, obviously I listened to the doctors and I had the chemotherapy, but I done all the stuff I could alongside what they could, because doctors are not there, they're only there to assist you. Yeah. You have to do something yourself. And I think the stats are that 60% of people just say to a doctor, here's my life, help me. But the doctor can't do everything. The doctor needs your help to be able to have some input. And that's the way we went straight into it and worked alongside them.
And I guess, again, this back to the lessons for life, I guess, it's the listening to you talk, it's about the accountability side of it, isn't it? That's where what I'm taking from it, listening to you talk, just going, look, I've asked for help. That's a tick. Great. You know what I mean? I need some help with this. Mm-hmm. You're going to need the chemo. That's something you can't do yourself. You've got to get the chemo from the hospital and the doctors. There's certain things but all this other stuff that sits over here, I'm going to do everything I possibly can. To give myself the best opportunity to achieve them things. It's like an athlete, and if they want to win a medal, they'll get up at 4 a.m. and they'll start training. And that's the thing, it's pushing yourself to
boundaries, that limit of, I used to get up, well I still do, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning and I'll meditate for 10-15 minutes or do the Wim Hof breath work or have an ice bath, then I'll go run 6 miles with a group of people in Hailsham where I live, 6 a.m.ers. We're out 1 hour chatting away, everything else, and I only ever train in a pair of shorts. No matter what the weather, whether it's snowing, I'm still out there just in a pair of shorts, running around, and it's quite funny when people think where I am in my little town is they think I'm mental, sort of thing. So, but I'm here because of it, because that was another form of cold exposure. It was another form of boosting your immune system, because obviously the cold helps inflammation within your system, and obviously cancer is a disease which thrives on your body being less fit. So the more fitter you are, the less likely you are going to have cancer. The more you put good fuel in, you're going to get good fuel out. It's the same as went back to a car. If you put diesel in a petrol in a diesel, you're not going to get the results. Whereas if you start putting the right fuel in, you're going to get the right results out. And I found that the better I ate, the better I meditated, the less stressed I was, the more energy I had day in and day out throughout. And I never procrastinated. Whereas before, I used to I'm a bit scared to make that forum call. I'm a bit scared to do this. But as soon as I got cancer, it woke me up. And I was like, right, you don't have time to procrastinate. You've only got a few weeks. So you need to make a decision right here, right now. And Mel Robbins was another person who done the 5-second rule. So every time I feel myself a little bit nervous, I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get it done. And that's it. I'll get it done. I'll go out and do it, whatever it needs to be.
So from obviously your cancer, but your life, your mindset, how you are as an individual has changed massively. You've changed your mindset completely in regards to all of those things. And I'd be keen just to tap. I know you mentioned about the cold water therapy and the Wim Hof stuff, because you've had a conversation with Wim Hof, haven't you?
I've done a podcast with him, and I met him face to face as well. And I'm now training as a Wim Hof instructor as well.
Wow. That's incredible. Because most people, I'm assuming, listening would have heard of him, but I guess the benefits of cold water therapy, but not just for cancer, but for life in general, right? There's so many benefits to.
Well, there's so many sportsmen out there, because obviously you're running, you're tennis, you're weightlifting, so you're pulling muscles, you're breaking fibres and everything else, and that helps to reduce the inflammation within the muscles, which helps you repair quicker and earlier. I ran a 100k race on a Sunday, and then by Tuesday I was back running 6 miles, just because having that good healthy input, plenty of sleep, meditation, tai chi, practice like yoga, stretching, good healthy diet, ice baths, and like I say, Tuesday morning I was back out. I took 1 day's rest. Sort of thing.
Wow.
Whereas I shouldn't have had that 1 day's rest. So I still beat myself up for it. So, all right.
Well, I'm going to let you off that one. I'm going to let you off that one. Wow, mate, that's incredible. And there's a couple of things, because obviously I've started to get into the cold water therapy and the Wim Hof stuff. I've been doing a lot of sea swimming, and obviously it's lovely at the moment. It's not even cold, but I'm planning on keeping up through the winter. But I've been doing the cold showers and trying to do the breathing and stuff. And from a mental health point of view, you just feel $1 million. You feel $1 million, don't you, in the morning?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's just afterwards, coming out of, no matter what happens throughout that day, if you've had an ice bath, you're like, I've had an ice bath this morning. It's like nothing else can faze me. And that's the thing. You put yourself in that stressor situation which you can control. Because if you get too stressed in the cold water, you can just get out, plain and simple. But doing it over a period of time, you then become, when your kids won't get dressed for school, because you think on an average day, people's alarms going off, the coffee machine's not working, the kids are running around not having breakfast, they won't get changed, they won't get in the car, and that's all before you even got out of the bloody house. So you think how much stress that is. So if you wake up, go and have an ice bath or a cold shower, and the kids are like, meh, 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 you're like, and
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Just
sets you up.
it sets you up for the day, or even whenever. So if you have a cold shower once they've all gone to school and you've dropped them off, or in the evening, you've had that stress of training within your system. So when you get up the next day and everything's going frantic, you're like,
still,
So.
And meditation as well. I'll be keen to tap into about that, because it's something I really struggle with. Like, I've started it this year. First time I've done like a 30-day course in January, and I've kept it up. Not every day, but I try and, a few times a week I at least try and do 10 minutes. But I really struggle with it. Like, did you meditate before?
No, I never meditated. Never done Tai Chi, never meditated or anything else. But obviously I read about the benefits of like meditation, Tai Chi, keeping everything moving throughout your chi, throughout your system. And I always look at it as like, if you're moving, you're a flowing river. If you're like if your thoughts are like procrastination, you're stagnant, so you then become a stagnant pond. So you have to have the focus to move on with your life. So meditation, I find, that helps clear my mind to actually think about the problems. I never go completely blank. I always think, right, okay, I need to pump the tyre up on the car. So once I've finished the meditation, I'll go and pump it up, because if I procrastinate and don't do it, I'm driving around with a flat tyre. So you have to have those things which sets you up for your day. And I can organise my whole day throughout my meditation, just to 15 minutes in the morning. And I know.
So you almost, I guess this is the thing, I'm trying not to beat myself up about it and go, and actually I'm just, it's okay to allow those thoughts to come in.
Yeah.
And then you park them and go, okay, I'll deal with that after.
Yes.
I'll deal with that as soon as I finish my meditate, or at that point in the day, whatever that's going to look like. Because I've got such a, as I've launched the podcast is called Different Hats, because I wear many different hats and juggle a load of different things. So I'm on that process of going, how do I calm that busy brain? And it's something. It's the same with anything in life, as you're alluding to. It's consistency, and that's what I'm trying. I guess this year is trying. I've not found it. I've not made it perfectly. I don't feel I've meditated properly, but it's not beating myself up about it, as long as I keep doing it on a daily basis.
Exactly. And meditation, a lot of the time, people think that you have to have a blank mind, but I always look at meditation as sitting on a platform with the trains, and the train will come in, and say if it's your mortgage you're worried about paying, and it's the 2nd of October or the 3rd of October, but you're not paying your mortgage until the 28th of October. There's nothing you can do within that time, so forget about it until the 28th. But if you've got to get the kids to their swimming class at 10 o'clock that day, and you've got a Zoom call, you need to make a decision whether you're going to phone your boss and say, I can't make a Zoom call because of the kids' swimming lesson is more important to me, or the Zoom call is more important. So that's the thought that comes in. You think, right, I need to deal with that today. So you leave that in the station. Whereas the mortgage, let it go. Deal with that on the 28th sort of thing. And that's the thing. I use meditation to organise my day, not blank everything out sort of thing. So, and it helps calm, because I'm the same as you. I'm always thinking about, right, okay, my wife says that I will never sit still. I can't sit still. And I'm always building something or moving something or cutting the grass or doing this.
What about 100K?
Running 100K sort of thing. So I'm always thinking about like my next step. And I use that as a meditation form, so I can focus on how I'm going to get to that next step, rather than frantically going, how am I going to get to that step? I can breathe and I can calmly think, right, okay, if I want to get to that next step, I need to phone so-and-so to be able to get so-and-so to do that, and then I can organise this, and then that's it. That's all I need to do. So that's my day. So, and that's the way I look at meditation. So,
that's a great way of looking at it,
Yeah, you don't have to blank your mind. If you're thinking things and it's not important for that day, let it go. And that's it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I mean, I tell you what, so one thing I wanted to chat to you about, because despite obviously beating cancer, as you have done, I listened to, there was a TED talk, I wrote the name down, Salika Zhao. It's on the TED talk's actually on the Wolo website, and talking about that life post cancer. just keen to explore a little bit about like your mindset around that, like after, like you said, after that cancer free and that thing, because she alludes to the fact that it was a bit. I almost felt, how can I describe it? She was almost a little bit like, at that point during cancer, she knew where she was and what she was doing. And then
what do I do now?
Yeah, what do I do now?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'd be keen to know.
You do feel like that.
Really?
I felt lost.
Really?
I felt...
Because every day, you're beating cancer every day. That's your goal. You've got a drive and you've got a purpose and you've got a thing. Actually, you're cancer free now. You've got... Is that is that how you feel?
I'm not Marcus with stage 4 advanced incurable cancer going to a hospice anymore. And I'm just Marcus, and that's it. And now what am I going to do? And I'm no longer a builder because I've quit the building trade because I wanted to focus on more helping people through podcasts and sort of, working for Wolo and everything else. But I did come to a point where I was like, whoa. I even drove to the hospital one morning, and when I was going to Eastbourne, I turned the indicator on. My wife went, "Where are you going?" "Oh yeah, wrong way," sort of thing, because it was a Friday, and I used to have chemo like every other Friday type thing. So it's like you almost get lost. You almost have a club within that safe environment. And the thing is, when you've got cancer, you don't have a fear of getting cancer because you've already got it. And that's the thing. But when afterwards, now my day, every day of like, what if it comes back? What if it comes back? So you've got that continuous fear afterwards. And it's almost like someone said to me, goes, if I could, I'd have a scan every day. And it was like, yeah, you do feel like, I've got a little bit of pain. What's that sort of thing? Oh yeah, it's probably because I've just shifted 25 tons of material by a shovel type thing. That's probably what it is, or ran like 100k. So, but you do have that lost point sort of thing. But then I'd done a lot of talking with Justin and sort of Fleur and obviously my wife and everything else, and soon discovered where I was going, and where I was actually sort of thing, and I almost started to feel sorry for myself, that pity sort of why me type thing. And I was like, no, you don't need to do that, because you're not a victim mentality, not anymore. You used to be before you got cancer, and then you got cancer and you quit all that victim mentality. You took responsibility, so take responsibility now, and that's what I have done. So.
Amazing. It's just so inspired. Like I said, every time I have the opportunity to chat to you, or hear you talk, or listen to a podcast you've been on, or like I said, just bumping into each other and just having a conversation. You constantly inspire me, mate.
Life is so important. It's not until you get a diagnosis you realise how short it really is, and you have to grasp everything. And it's like, like a house brick. Say, for instance, if someone gave you a house brick, that's your procrastination. And it's okay for holding it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Then it starts to get into an hour and you can feel your hand shaking, and that's your procrastination because you haven't done anything about what you're supposed to do. You didn't make that phone call. You didn't go and see that person. You're like, I really need to put that down. But you can't put that down until you make that phone call. As soon as you put that phone call, you put the brick down. That's it. And until your next problem. And then you'll pick it up again. Right, okay, I'm not going to hold this for an hour. I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to make the phone call. I'm going to go and talk to that person. And it's like the 5-second rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go get it done, sort of thing. Because otherwise you'll be carrying that brick around. And being a builder, I know how heavy a brick is over a period of time. It feels okay when you first pick it up. But then after a few hours of holding that out, you do start to get the shakes. So get things done.
I love it. Love it. Well, look, we're gonna as we're coming towards the end, we're gonna finish again with another life in 60 seconds. This is something. The essence of the podcast. It says it on my T-shirt that I'm trying to help the world, I guess, to see success differently. So for this last bit, I just want to, with where you've been, where you are now, and where obviously you're looking to go in the future. In a sort of 60 seconds, just tell me, how do you define success now?
I define success as not waiting around anymore. whereas I used to before being a builder. I was like, why me? It's not fair when I got cancer. And then like I changed that mindset to not be a victim mentality. And now every day is an opportunity. Every day is a dream setter. And every day, as like Henry Ford said, if you think it can be. If you think it can't be. You know, it depends on how you have that mindset of switching, whether you take that as the truth and you can get there, or whether you take that as a negative and, I can't do that, because everyone can do everything. And all it takes is those steps to get towards your goals. And that's what I class as success, is every day is a success. Just taking that one step. And if you're comfortable, you're not achieving. So get out your comfort zone and do something different.
Absolutely brilliant. I love that. Look, tell me then, what with all this that you said, and you said you spoke to Justin and Fleur, what does the future hold for Marcos Jarvis?
The future is I work for Wolo now part-time, both me and my wife, and obviously I'm training as a Wim Hoff instructor, so I'm hoping to help other cancer patients to install hope within them and just give like your best shot at everything you do every day, whether you're going through chemo or radiotherapy, whether you're feeling sick, nauseous or anything else. Just get up and go for a walk down to the bottom of your garden, or just go and sit on your step outside, get some sunshine, get some fresh air. And it's just installing that little bit of hope. And with like Wolo is obviously dealing with a lot of cancer families, I hope just to be that person that they can reach out to. Yeah. And like I said, everyone needs a hand to hold, everyone needs a shoulder to cry at, everyone needs a person to rant at, and that's what Wolo's there for. And obviously I'm hoping to help other people in the future and just drive some like hope into people, because there's not a lot of hope out there when it comes to cancer. There's too many stats that says otherwise, and just pushing that give it a go type situation. Don't give up, because you're still breathing. And that's what I found on the day that I was diagnosed. I walked in there as Marcos Jarvis. I got told that I had stage 4 advanced incurable cancer, and I walked out of there still as Marcos Jarvis. I just had different information and what I was going to do with that information. So I just took a moment to breathe and focus on where I was going to go in the future. And I was still breathing at that time. It's not as if I went in there, they said, you've got cancer, and then that was it. I was gone, I was dead. I was still breathing. So it was almost like, if I'm still breathing now with this information in my head, I have got that little bit of hope. And when they said that we'll put you on palliative chemo, I had that little extra bit of hope. So there was something there all the time. And just holding on to that little bit of hope.
Absolutely amazing. I'm thinking, just to finish off, I'd love to think that your son's now 8, and what does he talk to you about the cancer? Have you spoke to him about the cancer?
Yes,
Does he? What are those conversations like? What is his thought? Because for me, looking, obviously my kids are 8 as well. The twins are 8 now. But I just think that the lessons that you must have taught him in these last 4 years about life in general, about that he can achieve anything, whatever that looks like, it's got to be incredible now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He is. I remember an email we got from a school teacher of his that they were doing Heroes of the Day, and he actually stood up and went, "My dad's a hero for..." choked me as well. So I going through chemo and everything else, and he talks about cancer, and he doesn't have any fear for cancer, and he knows that he eats well, He exercised well. We always go out skateboarding, bike riding, mountain biking, and like swimming in the sea. He actually gets in like the ice tub with me, sort of like for 10 seconds at a time, sort of thing. So, and obviously like heat exposure is another thing which we haven't touched much on. I had saunas 3 times a week as well to obviously detoxify my system and help with that as well, sort of thing. So, but yeah, he understands about heat exposure, about putting yourself out of the comfort zone, not to be shy, and just not procrastinate. And he always like has a very open. I've tried to teach. Well, me and Hannah, my wife, had tried to teach him to draw outside of the box. You know, if a teacher says draw inside of it, no, draw outside the box, think outside of the box. So he does. He comes up with some great ideas, sort of thing. So yeah, he's an amazing kid, I must admit.
Wow. I knew when we spoke about it, and I know we've been speaking about it to get you on for a little while, and yeah. I'm so glad that I've waited until I've rebranded and it's the new series of the podcast, and yeah. I'm mate, just truly honoured to have you on, and
I appreciate you actually having me here
and sharing this. Just what an inspirational story that's going to help so many people, and not just like for me on a personal level, not just even take cancer aside, just the lessons that you've learned from your journey. That people will be able to relate to every aspect of their life, and whether it be in business, whether it just be your life in general, or if there are listeners that are going through cancer as well, then they can take some, hopefully from this episode, one thing that will be is hope, and I think that's what you give so many people, and that's amazing.
Thank you.
I'll share your details in the podcast notes and stuff, and people hopefully can use.
Yeah. So if anyone's going through want any information or just to chat, please by all means share all my details. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone and help anyone, sort of thing. So,
mate, listen, thank you again, and
thank you.
Keep going and sharing your story, because it will continue to inspire loads of people. I'm sure.
Like I say, I've got a 55 miler coming up in December, which I'm looking forward to running, sort of thing, and that'll be. So I am focused on keeping myself in prevention mode and staying one step ahead of cancer.
Absolutely.
So, thanks, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Legend. And that, as they say, is a wrap.